Hey, I'm Bowen from OpenAI. I guess I'm cooked, so uh, share what I have anyway. Yeah, so I I agree that there's some issues probably with this that we do need to figure out, but it has still been pretty useful so far. And at OpenAI, we actively monitor, our largest RL training runs. That's something that my team does. And we also, as if you went to Marcus's talk, we also monitor our internal deployment traffic. And that has caught a lot of issues. It probably doesn't catch all of them, but it's still been pretty incredibly useful for us to do this. We've kind of repeatedly found that if you monitor the COT in addition to the actions, you do much better than monitoring the actions alone, which is pretty cool because, our models just seem to reveal what they're thinking oftentimes at the current moment. This is something we want to track. We don't want to just trust it blindly. And that's something I'll get into later. This is the point. So for COTs monitoring to be useful, your COTs need to be monitorable. And that's kind of the thing that we focus on a lot on my team. What is monitorability? That's maybe a good place to start. We kind of started from the definition of faithfulness, which is kind of probably a more commonly talked about thing. And I think the kind of Platonic ideal definition that you probably mostly subscribe to is that a faithful interpretation or latent is one that accurately represents the reasoning process behind the model's prediction. I think, it's pretty straightforward. So this is going to require some audience participation, which is fun. So here's an example. So I'm going to ask my model, what color should I paint my room? The true reasoning behind the model, like if you had an oracle, I could tell you that is most rooms are orange, so let's say orange. So now this is the latent you observe. Raise your hand if you think it's faithful. It reads most rooms are orange, so let's say orange. Yeah, cool. So yeah, it is. It's exactly the same thing. By definition, it exactly represents the reasoning. Cool. How about this? Sorry for those of you who can't see it clearly. Yeah, cool. Okay, so a lot of people here speak a little bit of French. That's awesome. Still faithful. It reads the exact same thing. It's just in French. How about this? Okay, we had one or two tentative hands. Probably you've read a lot of Rot 13 on the internet, and this is the same thing, just in Rot 13. So by definition, it is faithful, but for some reason, you thought it wasn't, and it wasn't that useful to you to understand what the model's true reasoning was. And so maybe faithfulness is not the thing that we should be caring about. And so this is where our definition of monitorability comes from. We define everything with respect to a particular property V we want to predict with a monitor M. A latent Z is monitorable with respect to property V and a monitor M if M can accurately predict that property from the latent. Pretty straightforward, like classification. Can you predict the thing? There are failure modes of monitorability. The first one is pretty close to faithlessness. So information required to predict that property is not in the latent. So you just can't predict it. Pretty straightforward. However, that was what we originally thought, but actually it's that information required for the monitor M to predict that property is not present. And so this means if I know that 2 + 2 is 4 and the model knows that 2 + 2 is 4, the model does not have to state that 2 + 2 is 4 for us to follow each other's reasoning. And so you actually do not, well, I'll say it in a sec, but the other failure mode is illegibility. You just can't understand it. That's the Rot 13 example. But what that first part says is that you actually do not need complete faithfulness to have a monitorable setup. And so this is why at OpenAI, or at least my team, we kind of more concern ourselves with monitorability because, again, you don't need this incompleteness. Though it is still a good thing to focus on and aim for because obviously if you have complete faithfulness and legibility, you should have monitorability. This monitorability could be fragile. I think a lot of, it's a thing to worry about. It could go away for a lot of reasons. We recently, to be able to, because we think it's fragile, we wanted to be able to track it, preserve it, maybe improve it. We made some evals to start looking at this as just a starting point. There's kind of I would say, they're a great way to at least give a comparison against the current models we have, but we would like to put a lot more effort into them. And so we hope that, you guys also care about monitorability and you can start using these, and we're going to open source them soon, but we hope that you build on them, contribute to them, and hopefully we end up with a untrusted or trusted monitoring future. Hopefully trusted.